Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Monday, it's June 10th. It is 2024. We have a nice little 6-game MLB slate to ease us back into the weekday baseball here on the Morning Grind. Joined today by my good buddy, Will Priester, ChiefJustice06. Chief, what's happening, my friend?
Nothing much, brother. Doing well. Glad to come on with you and talk through some MLB. Nice little palatable 6-game slate on a Monday. I mean, this thing caught me off guard, Stevie, when I pulled it up a couple hours ago. And I told Geraldine, because, Geraldine kind of knows how long I'm going to be based on how many games I tell her we have.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hey, by the way, we got 6 games today. And this is what she said. She said, okay, so probably about 40 minutes today then. I said, probably somewhere around there. But that was so interesting that she knows how long it takes based on the games now. I said, boy, she's been in this with me a long time to have those kind of calculations.
Oh, yeah.
Super interesting.
Yeah, man. I'm always pumped when I pull up the slate and it's like 6 games. Like 6 to 8 on a Monday is perfect for me to get back in the rhythm of things. And I have a short week this week, so heading to volleyball nationals with my daughter and our team this week. So Keith's going to be filling in a lot for me, and you'll see Keith and Will a little bit this week, and appreciate him filling in for me. And hey, if you're going to nationals this week for AAU volleyball, hit me up. I love meeting people. I run into people all the time that listen to the Morning Grind or NASCAR stuff. More so NASCAR stuff because I'm usually traveling to races. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to be in Orlando for nationals this week, hit me up. Let's get into it and get on this 6-game baseball slate. Will asked me how NASCAR was. I told him it was fantastic in the last lap of the race, so I didn't want to talk about that. And we're going to move straight on to talking some baseball here on Sunday night. So we got Colorado at Minnesota, 8 total. Minnesota, 2-15 favorite. Dakota Hudson, Chris Paddock facing off against each other here. Any interest in Dakota Hudson?
No.
The quick no right out of the gate. And I agree with you. This is a quick no for me as well. 12.6% Ks. Walk rate higher than his strikeout rate against lefties. 377 WOBA, 170 ISO, 53% hard hits, really low swinging strike, really low whiff rate. I think we'll definitely be talking about some of these Minnesota lefties when we get there. Let's talk Chris Paddock on the other side. 7,100, gets a matchup with the Rockies outside of Coors, big favorite. I think Chris Paddock's going to get some ownership today, so I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on him.
I like Chris Paddock. I don't love Chris Paddock, if that makes any sense. So the thing is, Stevie, I think Paddock has some upside. I mean, he'll see a few righties, but he's going to see some lefties, which is, where his struggles have been. And but I think because of the price, he's going to end up getting tons of ownership. And I think I agree with it outside of the fact that there's another guy in the 7K range that I also like that I might just flip the ownership to. All in all, I'm going to play the ownership game with Paddock. I do like the price. I think Paddock can get 15 fantasy points here. But I'm not saying he's some elite value play by any stretch of the imagination. I'm going to play the ownership game to put a bow on it.
Going to be a popular value play, that's for sure. Like, decent strikeout pitcher, higher strikeout rate against righties, like you mentioned. Yep. The lefties are a little concerning, but like their lefties aren't great. They have a couple really solid like major league hitters, and the rest of the lineup should be in AAA. But overall, like Paddock, he does struggle against lefties, but the walk rate has been great for Paddock this year. He's been able to throw a lot of strikes. Just keeps having like 1 or 2 bad innings, and it just jolts up his pitch count really, really fast. Paddock's capable of big games. He's capable of 25 plus in this spot. He's 7,100. He's going to be popular. I understand the ownership idea. I'm with you as far as that. Like, he's had some tough matchups here recently, right? Yankees Guardians, Rangers, Kansas City Royals, Yankees. I mean, this is a really good spot for him to get back on track. And
let me
kind of show us what we had earlier this year.
Let me ask you, Stevie. I've got my number in my head. What's your number where you hop off of Paddock ownership wise on a small slate? Not small. Yeah, I guess 6 is semi-small compared to what we're used to. Where did you kind of hop off the train?
So I'll probably play like a main team today, and then I'll probably make like 20 entries in the 20 entry max because I have stuff going on later tonight, so I won't play a ton. Right. But I probably play Paddock regardless of ownership at this price point. Like, I don't love a lot of cheap pitching on this slate, just in general. So I think Paddock would have to be like 50%, and I don't think he's going to be that high for me to have. That's my number.
If he's at like 50, I'm out.
I just don't think he'll be. I don't think he'll be that high. I think Fetty is going to be popular too.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about next option for
sure. We're gonna talk about him too. But like, I think I'm just going to play Paddock today and not really worry about the ownership. Like, I'll make sure I don't have like a Chris Paddock like chalky stack, right? I don't want both sides of it. So I'll limit my exposure to like Paddock and like whoever we expect to be like the chalky stack today, which might actually be his own team. I think the Minnesota Bats are going to get some love today, and I think they should, Will. I think this is a really good spot. But before we get into that, do you have any interest in the Rockies Bats?
I mean, look, if you want to, throw Blackman in there, have at it. I'm not going to fight you on it, if you will, but I don't plan to, really be loading up on Rockies. Like, that's just not something I'm planning on doing.
One of the reasons that we like Paddock is just they don't have a lot of lefties to get to him, right? Yeah. Like, they have Blackman and McMahon. Jake Cave is like a walking strikeout. So they're just full of right-handed hitters in this lineup. They're dealing with a ton of injuries right now in general.
Same thing last year too. The injuries just really tanked their whole team.
Well, they had to call a guy up over the weekend from like Double-A. I saw the alert on my phone because they're so banged up right now. Yeah. So they called a guy straight up from Double-A. I think it was for Rogers who got put on the IL. Yep. But
Rogers is on the IL now.
Yeah. So is it Amador? He's 2K, shortstop, switch hitter. Maybe you could take some shots on him depending on where he, is in the lineup. Looks like he had a decent game Sunday, one for 3 with a stolen base. 2K, that's excellent. Especially like when we think of this slate, just in general, like if you're not playing up for like Bobby Witt, you could probably pay down at shortstop. So I actually don't hate the 2K shortstop play today, where like some days we just have like shortstops in elite position with Seager and Witt and Gunnar Henderson and De La Cruz. Like, it's just a position you really haven't been able to save a lot of money at this year. So let's talk Twins Bats, though. I think it's an excellent spot for Minnesota. Again, Dakota Hudson really struggles with lefties. We got Santana, Kepler, Larnach, Kirilloff. Willie Castro should probably crack the lineup today. Julian. I don't mind Julian. I don't think that it's a bad idea to potentially play like Carlos Correa, Byron Buxton. I think it's just one of those spots you're going to be playing the Minnesota Bats today.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing too, Steve, is none of these guys are over 5K anymore. Like Jeffers, I think it kind of hit 5K, but this team they're too cheap for this spot. From both sides of the plate, left and right. So I'm expecting Minnesota to have ownership, but I think I'm just going to have to eat it today. Like, Dakota Hudson is so bad.
He's not good. I mean, his strikeout stuff is very minimal. And someone just said in chat that Julian got sent down.
Oh,
he got sent down, last Monday.
AAA. Yep.
So, I mean, he's just been atrociously bad at the plate recently. So, we'll see if he gets called up here soon. But I expect it to be Willie Castro for the foreseeable future here with Julian sent down. So, and like I don't mind Castro at 4,100. Kirilloff at 3,700 is a high upside play here. All right, moving on. We got the Yankees and the Royals. I keep wanting to say like the Chiefs. I don't know why. Like I keep saying like in my head the Chiefs. Football's getting close. It's getting close. I know it's wild, right? Like I feel like it just ended. Yeah. Yankees, Royals, 8.5 total. Yankees are 130 favorite. Rodon against Lugo. Any interest here in Rodon?
Stevie, I can't. And look, he's been fine. But here's what's going to happen the minute I press the button. Everything I know about him is going to come true. He's going to give up a bunch of runs. He's going to get knocked around. I'm not playing him at 8,800. I'm just pretty much committed to not really playing Rodon this season for what it's worth. And I'll just let him keep cranking out 20-point games. But I can't do it.
Yeah, he's been pitching great. It's weird, because we're so used to like picking on this guy because he had been struggling, I feel like, for a while, but he's been pitching really solid this year. My biggest concern here with Carlos Rodon, sorry, my computer's like freezing, but my biggest concern here is how well Kansas City has hit left-handed pitching, and they don't really have a ton of strikeouts in this lineup against left-handed pitching this year. So I worry about like that downside. I think they're 10th in WRC plus, and they are, I think, 4th in strikeouts at like 18.8%. So I worry about the upside. If he's getting some ownership, I could see, definitely being underweight on him. Talent-wise, strikeout-wise, I think like he's definitely on the list today because of how well he's been pitching. Lugo on the other side of this game, another guy that like probably one of the biggest surprises this year is like how well Seth Lugo has pitched. He's limited walks, he's limited power. He's not striking out a ton of people, but like he's 9-1. Like it's so wild. I noticed that when I was like looking at the slate, I was like, I couldn't believe in my head that Seth Lugo was 9-1 to start the season.
Yeah, for sure. He's pitched well too. This spot, Stevie, and maybe I'm really wrong about this today, but I just don't like this spot for either of these pitchers. And I know he's been good. I think I'd rather play these 7K guys than the 8K Rodon and Lugo. And I'm probably going to pay for it in the end, but that's just something I'm willing to accept today, Stevie. I just think these are two really good offenses, and I think I can get close to their production from the 7K guys.
I don't mind Lugo in general, but he's not a high strikeout guy, and this is a low strikeout team. I feel like they're just going to put the ball. It's almost like the same matchup he just had against Cleveland. Like the Yankees they're striking out so minimal this year that like it's almost like the same matchup he just had, and he struggled. So I worry about the matchup. And Aaron Judge, one of the hottest hitters in baseball right now, if not the hottest hitter in baseball. I mean, just every day it seems like we're getting an alert from the home run account that like Aaron Judge hit another home run. I mean, just every day, just absolutely crushing the baseball right now. Like the early season struggles that he had just gone. Talk to me here about the Yankees bats.
Yeah, man. This is one of my concerns, right? Like, but not only has Judge been smoking, man, like my boy Soto's been good. And I know, like, he's had like a little minor injury. For what it's worth, I think he plays. Stanton, while he may be striking out, still full of tons of power. Verdugo's been a good add to this lineup. Torres isn't even really playing well, but, he's still around this potent offense. They've got Rizzo, who hasn't been hitting well, but at any moment he could turn on. I just think this offense is really good. I like the fact that they've got low strikeouts. Anthony Volpe he's been really good for them this season. So I like this team a ton, and I think I may actually use some Yankees today. And now that I'm saying that, they're going to score 1 run. But just so you know, I do like the Yankees.
I mean, they have one of the highest implied totals here night before line-wise in Vegas, so I think it's a good spot for the Yankees. I'm with you. I think they're very stackable today. I kind of have some interest in the Royals. They're going to make a lot of contact in this spot. I just talked about how they don't really strike out against left-handed pitching. WRC plus are really solid. Garcia crushes lefties. Witt crushes lefties. Perez crushes lefties. We know Renfroe throughout his career has been great against lefties. Freddie Furman, if he cracks the lineup here, has a 330 or 388 WOBA against left-handed pitching this season. I think this is a great spot for a low-owned Royals stack. Like if I'm playing some Paddock, I might look for the Royals in like a 4-man stack with another team that I like today.
Yeah, for sure, man. I like this stack as well. We talked about Renfroe, and Renfroe has had his struggles this year. Don't get me wrong, but Stevie, that was earlier. Recently, he's been really putting the ball in play consistently. So I really like him at 3,100. You've got Bobby Witt, who's obvious. I mean, Garcia's been leading off. I like Garcia. Garcia's another guy that I've been playing a lot. Got to pay for him at 4,900. Obviously, you've got Salvador Perez at 5,400. You can get him in your lineup. So I really like this team. I think this is a good spot to stack them. And let's hope we're right against Mr. Carlos Rodon.
All right, moving on. We got Toronto at Milwaukee, 8.5 total pick'em game. Berrios and Ray facing off against each other. Any interest here in Jose Berrios?
Oh man, Steve, 8K range is killing me today. You're killing me, Smalls. I don't like this 8K range. I'm not doing it against Milwaukee. And Berrios has been steady. And by steady, Stevie, I mean he's been mid-teens to 20 fantasy points virtually every start. But I'm just, it's a small slate. I'm going to try to be as picky as I can at pitcher. And I once again think the 7K range, or those handful of 7K pitchers that we like, I just think they're better value than these 8K guys. So I'm not playing Berrios today against Milwaukee, and I'll live with the results. Like his strikeouts aren't elite this season. Like he's been a version of Miles Mikolas to me, Stevie. Pitching really good in real life, but no incredible upside like this season. The strikeouts just aren't there consistently.
Yeah, I mean, just a guy that uses a lot of sinkers and tries to get out of innings because he's using sinkers. Like
and let me say early Miles Mikolas. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I said Miles Mikolas, but he hadn't been great this season. I mean Miles Mikolas from like 3 years ago. All right, sorry. Please continue. Sorry about that.
You're good. No, I mean just a guy that throws a lot of sinkers and tries to get out of innings, but like his advanced stats just scream regression. Like he's just not pitching great this year. Like his whiff rates are way down. His xWOBA is way up. His x slugging is way up. Like if he wasn't getting out of some innings with his sinker, I mean he would be really struggling this year. But like the slurve hasn't been slurving, and like a lot of home runs off the slurve and the changeup this year. Like, yeah, I don't have a ton of interest in Berrios today. Milwaukee is one of my favorite stacks on the slate, and we'll talk about them in just a minute. But Colin Ray on the other side, 6,200. He's really cheap. He's pitched okay this year. He's not a huge strikeout guy. Toronto's not a huge strikeout team. My problem with Ray is I just feel like this is a spot there's going to be a lot of contact made, and he's going to need a really, really stellar like BABIP game to get over 15 points. And I don't like betting on BABIP.
Yeah, same here, Stevie. I mean, I don't know what I will add because I think you said that perfectly, because that's what I was thinking. I'm like, he's got to minimize as much contact as possible to pitch well in this game. And I don't know if he does that today. Now, once again, the Toronto Blue Jays are creeping up into my personal gutless rankings. But generally speaking, they should be able to put the ball in play in this spot.
Yeah, I mean, overall, Ray has done fantastic against righties this year, limiting power. And this is a very right-handed heavy lineup. So, like, this might be one of those spots like Colin Ray scores like 13 fantasy points and the Blue Jays score like 1 or 2 runs off of him. So, I'm like on the fence on what I want to do with the Blue Jays today. I want to play some for sure because, like, I think it's a really good spot for Varsho. And, like, Vlad and Bichette are just two of my favorite hitters in baseball. They're eventually going to get it going. They're just too good. So, Varsho's having a stellar year. Jansen has been phenomenal. Paying up a catcher with Jansen's not a bad idea. They just called up Horwitz, right? Yeah, so he's 2,600 at second base. He was hitting the ball. I was reading a thing about him. He was hitting the ball really well in AAA before they promoted him. So you could take some shots on Horwitz here at 2,600. He hit leadoff on Sunday, so that would be stellar for him if he hits leadoff again at 2,600. So definitely another guy I want to throw out there.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I want to go back to Jansen here because you mentioned him. So one of the good things about him, Stevie, is he's been hitting so well. He's been a high-order catcher hitter, similar to Salvador Perez and some of these other great catchers like Adley Rutschman that we've seen, Stevie, where teams move them up into the top 4 in the order. I mean, we've seen him hit second a fair amount here recently. So I love Danny Jansen today at 4,700. I really think this is a good matchup for him. You mentioned Varsho. You've got Springer here at 3,800, Stevie. And look, man, we can say what we want, but Springer has gone through his stretch where he's kind of heated up a little bit at the plate at 3,800. I like him a ton. I think this is a guy that could have another nice day. You got Bichette at 45. You mentioned Vlad. I like this team today, and I'm hoping, Stevie, that they don't let me down.
Blue Jays love to do that. That's for sure. I mean, I will say, as far as like Springer's concerned, moving him down in the order has definitely taken some pressure off him. So maybe that's helping. He has been hitting a lot better over the last 2 weeks. I love the Brew Crew today. Will, I know Barrios is like the sinker baller that you're obviously a little concerned with, like the sinker, but this is a team that I think they ranked 3rd in baseball against sinkers this year. Like they have been incredibly good against sinkers. So I think this is an excellent spot today for the Brew Crew. I love stacking them in general. But yeah, I love this spot today for the Brewers.
Yeah, man, I'm with you 100%, Stevie. And this is one of the reasons why, you weren't going to find me playing Jose Barrios today. I like this team, man. I think, Contreras, even though it's righty, sign me up. Gary Sanchez, 3,500. He should be batting somewhere around the 6th hole, I think. I like him as well. Rhys Hoskins is back. If they want to, bet him and Bowers together, essentially, I guess they could. Tarek, I like this team, Stevie, and they've kind of meshed it together really, really well here. And so, Yelich, I'm assuming Yelich probably isn't completely on your list today because it's more so ground ball. But I still like him at 5,700. If they can knock Barrios around a little bit, maybe he gets a little bit of Toronto bullpen early. But all in all, I mean, the Milwaukee offense, definitely a top stack on the day.
Yelich is one of my favorite hitters on the slate. Barrios is actually really struggling with fly balls against lefties this year because he's not using the sinker as much against lefties. So I love Yelich today. Like, Barrios has a 37% fly ball rate this year. It was 26.5% last year. Still, it's only 150 batted balls, but that's enough for me to like. Though? It's at like 15%.
I mean, hey, listen, I use that sometimes too, Steve, like as a tiebreaker. I mean, that's pushing them closer to 50% versus, you get what I'm saying, versus true ground ball. So, hey, I'm with you, brother.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall at the end of the day, like, he's not he's giving up more fly balls, so people are definitely getting under him more. And like Yelich is obviously anytime that we have this kind of scenario for Yelich where you're getting a guy that's struggling with fly balls, you have to be interested because Yelich hits the ball on the ground so much. But yeah, love the Brewers today. And what's funny is like Yelich is still doing the thing. Like he's still hitting 48% ground balls this year. So chat talking about Boston 2-0. I think Boston wins 4-1. I said it like a week ago. I think Boston wins 4-1. All right, we've talked a lot about hitting. Let's talk some pitching. We got White Sox and Mariners, 6.5 total. Seattle is a 230 favorite. Fetty and Gilbert facing off against each other. What are we doing with Eric Fetty today?
Man, I hope he's not crazily expensive, Stevie. I don't think he gets out of this game unscathed, but I think the strikeout opportunity is there. One of the things that we've seen from Fetty is he's had some games, Stevie, where he's popped, and even recently, 7 against the Cubs, 8 against Milwaukee, still gave up the runs, but 8 against Milwaukee, 6 against Baltimore, 6 against Washington, only 2 against Toronto, and I guess that's your fear. But Seattle isn't a low strikeout offense. This is a high strikeout offense. I think we can reasonably expect Fetty to give up 2 or 3 runs, Stevie, but also get 5 or 6 strikeouts here. I think Fetty at 7,800, very fair price for a guy that should, and I'm air quoting here, Steve, because this is probably his best strikeout matchup he's had in 5 games. He should get the strikeouts today.
Yeah, I was looking pre-show to see if his like strikeout prop was up yet, and it wasn't up yet. One, I'm very interested to see what it comes in at because
I want 4.5. I'm assuming they give us 5.5 because
I thought 5.5. Now. Yeah, I thought 5.5. I thought it's 6.5. I just looked, so 6.5 at plus money.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't think I'd take that. I would have taken over on 5.5. But 6.5 is pushing it. But I do think like if there was a spot for him to go out and get 6.5 strikeouts, I feel like this is the spot. A lot of interest in Fetty today. Still think there's decline, and we talked about it last time out against the Cubs. I think there's decline in Fetty, but like the Seattle Mariners are striking out at such like a historical clip right now that we just got to keep playing like strikeout pitchers against them. And like he has perfected some stuff over in the KBO and he has strikeout ability. So yeah, I'm very interested in Eric Fetty today. Also very interested in Logan Gilbert. This is a guy that you always worry about like how deep they'll let him pitch into a game. But if he's rolling, I mean, he'll throw 7 or 8 innings in this spot. I think they're clean innings. He struggled recently. This is a really good potential, like, get back on track spot. I like Dylan Cease more. Dylan Cease is my favorite pitcher on the slate, but absolutely. I think Gilbert is a really solid option today.
Yeah, man, I'm with you 100%. I like Gilbert as well. He's definitely one of my options, Steve. And that's another reason these 9K guys are the reason why I'm not playing the 8K guys, and the 7K guys are the reason I'm not playing the 8K guys. I want exposure to all of this because I will need some money for some bats. But I'm with you. I think Gilbert is a fine play. And one of the things we can count on with Gilbert, Steve, is he's not going to be walking 30 million guys. So typically pitches with good control and in a spot where he shouldn't get lit up for runs, maybe he gets, like you said, if he can get 5 to 6 strikeouts, 7 innings relatively clean, maybe gives up the run. I think he's in consideration for one of the top options of the day in terms of his fantasy score.
Yeah, I think again, I like Dylan Cease more. We're going to talk about him in the next game. But I think this is a spot Gilbert pitches well. So nothing like jumping out at me. And like somebody asked me last time we talked about Gilbert, like I did a deep dive on him and like nothing jumping out like as far as like his advanced stats. So I'm not too concerned. I think he had some tough strikeout matchups there. I felt like he should have pitched better against Oakland, but really he didn't pitch that bad. 7 innings, picked up, 5 strikeouts, no walks, gave up 1 home run. And just, I mean, he didn't have the strikeouts, but that ballpark suppresses strikeouts too. So you worry about that. I like this spot a lot today for Gilbert. Any interest in the White Sox bats?
No, Stevie, like I'm probably going to have some exposure to most teams on the slate because it's so small. Like, and when I say most teams, I won't have a bat like all the bats, but I will have like one or two from Colorado, several from Minnesota. I'm not playing a single bat from the White Sox today. I'm just going to let it ride. Like I'll live with the results, but they're getting scratched off of my out of my pool today.
No interest in the White Sox for me. I have like slight interest in Seattle because like Fetty's still giving up home runs. So Garver, Riley, both of those guys are home run candidates. I feel like today, much more interested in like Riley. But again, this team has just been so bad against righties that like you have to play like historic numbers here and say like maybe I'll take some shots on like Julio Rodriguez, Mitch Garver, but I meant Mitch Haniger. They have two Mitches and it throws me off. But yeah, I mean overall, I'm not stacking Seattle, but I don't mind chasing like a home run or two.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I don't mind that from Cal Raleigh. I don't. You mentioned Mitch Garver. Maybe Julio, but generally speaking, Stevie, I'm with you. Like this isn't a T, but I will probably have Raleigh, maybe Julio. Maybe Dylan Moore too. Dylan's been hitting pretty well recently, but generally speaking, I'm not playing like stacking the Seattle Mariners.
Oakland at San Diego, 6.5 total. In this one, San Diego a 210 favorite. Estes and Cease facing off against each other. Any interest here in Joey Estes?
I'm not going to give a hard no, Stevie. I think there will be times for us to play him this season, but that time is not today against a low strikeout San Diego offense. So I'm not playing him.
I think you take shots on him. I think San Diego, they don't show up for games so many times that you could potentially take shots. Like he's coming off a really good strikeout matchup against Seattle. And he had an okay start last time out. You worry about the strikeouts here, like Will said. Like this is a very low strikeout team. So you worry about the overall strikeouts. I don't think Estes gets there most of the time, but if the Padres don't show up like they do so often, maybe he gets there with like 18 points today. Dylan Cease on the other side of this game, top pitcher on the slate for me. I think this is where we see one of the longest leash pitchers just kind of mow through a bad offense today.
Yeah, Stevie, I'm hoping that's the case because we've seen Cease, kind of not be able to get there recently in terms of overall performance, right? Like we've seen the strikeouts, but we haven't seen the dominant pitching performance, limiting the runs, limiting the hits, and I think this is a spot where he could get it done. Like we saw 6 strikeouts against the Angels, 5 against Kansas City, 9 against the Yankees, 5 against the Braves, 8 against Colorado. That's just recently 12 against the Cubs where he had a really dominant performance there. At 10-3, I definitely think Dylan Cease is still our top option. He should be able to overpower the Oakland offense, Stevie, and not have the ball in play a ton. So, at 10-3, I really like him. I think he's the best player on the slate.
Any interest in the Oakland bats today?
Negative.
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep talking about my boy JJ Bleday for that like random home run, but I don't think you're playing like any of these guys at like a high percentage. C should have no issues here. The other side of this game, San Diego, we've seen Estes struggle a little bit with like home runs. I mean, maybe you could take some shots on like Tatis, Profar, Cronenworth. I think Jackson Merrill is eventually going to start hitting better, but I mean, I don't mind a mini stack with San Diego today.
Yeah, I'm with you. And Profar and Cronenworth have been pretty good this season, Stevie. Profar's batting .322, believe it or not, which is,
he's having a great year, like a very underrated season.
Yeah, like seriously, he's been really good. So I like him. once again, I like Cronenworth. And I mean, Tatis, man. I don't have to, sell you on Tatis. He's been hot, really, Steven. People just kind of like, I feel like because he plays on the Padres and around the industry, Steve, I mean, I think Gutless might be like one of the new hot punchlines. Shout out to our boy Kurt Dees. We got to find a way to patent these Gutless rankings. But Tatis has actually been playing really well at the plate, but we're just not talking about it. But like he's been stellar. So I think he's still in play big time. I mean, I'm with you. I definitely think a mini stack is for sure. I may end up full stacking this team despite our gutless feelings.
Yeah, I mean, in the month of May, the Padres twice scored double-digit runs. They scored twice double-digit runs this weekend, so hopefully they can get it rolling a little bit. And just I keep hearing like rumors that like San Diego and Houston are like very interested in Trevor Bauer. That would be so interesting to see. Have you seen his like stats in the Mexico League this year? It's wild. He is putting up big numbers. I mean, I know there's a lot more to it than like his performance on the field, but yeah, I would be very interested to see like one of these contenders pick him up. But all right, moving on to the last game here, we got Houston at San Francisco. 8 total pick'em game. Argetti against Harrison in a pick'em matchup here. Argetti chalky last time out. I faded him. It worked out for me. He took a line drive off of his calf or something, and like he wasn't really pitching great before that. He was really struggling with the walks. I think this is a whole different scenario for me. Like I was very off of him last start. I think I'm jumping back on the bandwagon here at 6,500 against San Francisco in San Francisco.
Yeah, don't mind it at all, Steve. I think we got a ballpark in our favor. There will be some strikeouts, and his leash is long enough, Steve. Like if he's close, they'll let him go. Like we've seen him get into the mid to upper 90s so far this season. And so if he's pitching well or good enough, they have a nice lead. I think he could get 6 innings and 90+ pitches here. I still don't think he has like a 25 fantasy point performance game, Stevie. I think his ceiling is somewhere between 15 and 20 points on this slate, but that's more than enough, I think, with what we're looking at here with the options we have at 6,500. I'm with you. I like Argetti for sure.
Any interest in Harrison on the other side of this game?
No, and it's not because I think Harris is a bad pitcher. I just think he doesn't have enough upside against a low strikeout Houston offense. I just don't think there's enough.
Yeah, I mean, Bregman banged up a little bit. That could potentially help him. Tucker got put on the IL. I know that's lefty, but like Kyle Tucker is just a major league hitter. He hits lefties and righties. Yeah. So, I mean, that helps a little bit, but I just still don't see the upside here. I'm out. I actually have a ton of interest in the Astros today. Altuve, Bregman, if he's back in the lineup, the x-rays look clean for him. Pena, Diaz, Myers, all these guys have hit left-handed pitching really well this year. Chas McCormick is someone I love against lefties. He has really struggled against them this year, but I'm going to keep playing it because I believe in the talent. But yeah, very interested in Houston today.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I like as well. Once again, Stevie, my MO, I kind of really like low strikeout teams. Alvarez is 5,300. Prices come down, obviously, because he hasn't been as dominant, I think, is what we're used to seeing, but I don't care about that. Yanier Diaz has been good. Altuve's been good. You talked about Bregman, who had kind of turned the corner. My boy Jeremy Pena, who's been one of my favorite Houston hitters this season. He's been good as well. So, it's this team, man, even losing one good bat, they'll plug McCormick in, they'll plug Myers in, like they'll get it done. So I'm with you. I like Houston a ton today, even in San Francisco.
Yeah. Any interest in the Giants in this one?
Well, I'm always going to be okay with Conforto, I think, facing the righty. This is a guy that's got enough power to send one, out of the stadium. I still think Jorge Soler has enough power to send one out of the stadium, although we prefer to play him against lefties. Same thing for I was going to say Chapman, but Chapman's been a little bit injured. Bailey, I think Bailey's okay, like if you need a chip catcher, but I'm not stacking San Francisco. Legitimately, if I was going to play one guy, it's probably Conforto. Maybe Yaz also, but I'm not stacking San Francisco.
Yeah, I don't mind like a mini stack if Arrighetti gets a lot of ownership today, because like I said, there's been some negative regression in some of his numbers, so I don't mind like a mini stack situation here. But overall, I don't have a ton of interest outside of like that.
Yeah.
Geraldine was right on it. 41 minutes. We got the morning grind game, and she's going to be right on the 45-minute number. Man, our wives just the biggest supporters, right? Under 8K, under 8K to get 6 or more strikeouts today. We actually have a few options on the smaller slate. Who do you got?
Yeah, man, I'm gonna go with my boy Fetty. I've been on Fetty since he's come back. No need to hop off the train now. And I think in the chat, Mr. Gerg said you can't get Fetty at 5.5 minus 140. I think I'm willing to accept that, Steve, because that may even move to 6.5. I'm okay with that number. Just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Fetty would definitely be up on the list. I'm going to go Chris Paddock to get the job done. Over 8K to score under 15. Who is your bust today?
I'm going to go with Rodon. I may not like it at the end of the night, but that's who I'm rolling with.
I'm going to go Lugo in that same game. Just really tough matchups for both of those teams today. Yep. Over 4K to hit a home run. Who's going yard today?
Yeah, man, I think we've got some options, Stevie. This is kind of a tough debate for me. I think I'm going to stay in this Minnesota game, though. Give me Max Kepler facing off against Hudson.
I'm going to go to my boy Christian Yelich. We talked about the struggles with fly balls for Barrios. Love Yelich today. Under 4K to get 2 hits. Who's a cheap bat that you like today?
Going to go back to someone we talked about at the top of the hour, well, more so in the middle, I guess. It's at 6 games, Stevie. George Springer, 3,800, facing Ray. Batting a little bit close to the middle of the order now. They're on the road, so he should, if they can play well, he gets that extra at bat. Really like George Springer at 3,800.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I'm going to go to my boy Joey Ortiz. That guy he just keeps hitting. He just keeps hitting. And the Milwaukee Brewers, like I said, they're one of my favorite stacks on the slate. I'm going to go with Ortiz. Stack to score 6 or more runs. Who do you got today?
Oh, man, so many options, Stevie. But listen, I really, really, really like Minnesota today. They're probably going to be high owned, but I think it's the right call, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with my boys. Give me the Brew Crew. Get the job done today. Any player props or pick'em plays that you like on this one?
Oh man, give me a second here. Trying to see what they've got on the board for our pick'em options. Well, it's not great so far, Stevie, because they're giving us basically Fetty at 6 on Prize Picks. They're giving us Dylan Cease at 8 on Prize Picks. Also, let's do this. I'm going to go something a little bit against the board. Not against the board, but give me Dakota Hudson less than 3.5 strikeouts. I think there are going to be too many lefties for him to get outs today. Get the strikeouts today. Dakota Hudson less than 3.5.
Yeah, I want to see Paddocks. If Paddocks comes in at 4.5, I like the over on Paddock at 4.5. It's not up yet. So I'll be paying attention to that one. I was hoping that Arrighetti's came in at 4.5, but it came in at 5.5. I don't necessarily love that. So I'll be looking at Paddock's line. Any lines, over-unders, money lines, runs, any of that stuff you like today?
Oh, come on, buddy. It was loading up, Stevie. It's loading up.
Well, while it loads up, I'll talk about mine. I love the Brewers over 3.5 total runs today. It's minus 140 on the Hard Rock. I don't have DraftKings or anything else in front of me. Usually DK and FanDuel are a little bit better lines than Hard Rock, but I'm in Florida, so I have the Hard Rock. So I like Milwaukee over 3.5 runs. I feel like that is a really good line to take advantage of today.
Yeah, Stevie, we've got in terms of the run line, I think I'm going to stick with the Twins. Give me the Twins minus 1.5. Yep.
Yeah.
Minus 1.5 runs over the Rockies. I think that's a really good number. I think they can win by 2 runs or more today if the bats get rolling.
All right, that will wrap it up here for Monday. Always appreciate hanging out with you guys here. If you haven't already, subscribe to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind on YouTube. Appreciate everyone with the kind words in chat. I hope my girls play well. We've been working hard, man. I can't wait for this week. It's gonna be a fun week in Orlando. So appreciate everyone hanging out with us. We'll be back tomorrow talking baseball. Good luck, everyone. We'll see you then.